First of all, what happened is a bit wild, and I played my part in what happened at the end. I know what I did was wrong, but I don't regret it. I had to get justice for my daughter after the law failed. I'm a 42-year-old woman from India. I live with my husband's family, which is something very common here. My husband is 45 years old, and we had a daughter named Ankita, who was a 21-year-old female and mentally unstable. She was born normal with no mental disability, but she was attacked when she was a teenager. 7 years ago, when my daughter was 14 years old, she started to complain about how the neighbor's son was harassing her. We live next door to Rahul's family, and he used to play with my nephews a lot. They stopped being friends because of his very rough behavior with other kids. Rahul was 17 years old at the time, and he was always getting into trouble. He was very spoiled because both of his parents loved him a lot because he was their baby boy. For them, son is a big deal, and they let him get away with everything. He used to get in fights at school a lot. He was the kind of guy you would not want to be around with your kids. My daughter had her female friends, which she would hang out with in the neighborhood, and I did not have a problem with it, but more than one occasion, I noticed him looking at them, and usually at my daughter specifically. He would make, quote, jokes about being in love with my daughter, which no one took seriously. I did not think he would do anything, but I still warned my daughter to be careful and just stay away from him. She was young and only cared about school and friends, not boys. Unfortunately, we were in a community where everyone knew everyone, so our families had to attend festivals or ceremonies together. There were also members of our family that did get along, so it was not so simple. My daughter told me everything that he did, which I told my husband. He said it was just a silly crush and boys will be boys. This was 7 years ago, and people were not so quick to act against people who seemed to be dangerous. My mother-in-law scolded me about how I was stopping Ankita from making friends. She said that Rahul's family was rich, so it would be good for her. This type of thinking is what led to what happened that night. I blame myself for not standing up against my family, but I did not have the power to do that much. There was going to be a holy festival at our house in a few days. My mother-in-law asked Ankita to run over next door and invite our neighbors. It was at night, and I did not know that my daughter was next door. I remember that I wanted to ask her something, so then I started looking for her. My husband told me that she was next door, and I had a very bad feeling about it. I got angry with him for letting her go out at night, but he told me just to calm down because Rahul's parents were there. But hours passed, and my daughter was not coming back. I was getting so scared. My husband went next door, then he told me Rahul's mom said that Ankita had just fallen, and Rahul's dad took her to the hospital. So that night, we rushed there to the hospital. I started asking Rahul's dad what was going on, and he said that she fell and hit her head. When he got home, he saw Rahul there. I did not believe them, and I told them to leave the hospital now. The least they could have done was tell us when it happened. My daughter could have died. I got to see her after they left, and she was not looking good. There were a lot of drips on her, and there was also bandages all over her head. It was a good thing that I got to speak to her then, because a few hours later, she could not even speak anymore. She told me that when she went to Rahul's house, she knocked, and Rahul was the one who opened the door. His parents were not home, but he asked her to stay. Then, he started being strange and tried to kiss her. So she slapped him. They ended up fighting. The last thing she remembers was that he hit her in the head with a cricket bat. We'd already called the police and she told them what happened again, but I could see that it was getting more difficult for her to remember. She stayed there for days and my heart broke watching her lose control of her mind. My Ankie used to be the cleverest little girl, but she was losing her memory. The doctor said that she had eternal brain damage. She could not form clear thoughts or speak properly. The only thing she could do for herself was eat and go to the toilet, but she still needed a bit of help. There was nothing they could do to help her. They also thought she was going to be like that for the rest of her life. About a month after the accident, we managed to start with a case against Raul and his father. Now, my whole family believed me when I said that boy was not a good person, but in the past they thought I was crazy. For months, my husband dealt with the court case, and I did take care of our daughter during that time. It was so difficult because she was always having mood swings and would act like a baby sometimes. I was very angry at Raul, and one time that I saw him, I wanted to attack him, but my husband stopped me. Since there was proof that he had been bothered by my daughter for months, and the police got a hand on the cricket bat that he hit her with, I thought he was really going to go to jail. It was not going to help Ankita, but at least he would not hurt another girl. Well, he made bail a few days after, then the case went on for ages. There was so much proof from Ankita's statement, and he also confessed, saying it was a mistake. But the judge said he was too young to go to jail and gave him a fine. It sounds very crazy, but things like this happen here every day. They are rich, so they use their money to make problems disappear. The court said it was just an accident that happens because kids were just fighting. Every time my daughter saw Raul, she was so scared. Her mind was not working well, but she still remembered what he did to her. For the next couple of years, I had to see him grow up and go to school. But when he went to college, we did not see him a lot. She could not even go to school anymore, and she had to stay in the house most of the time. Everyone laughed at her and called her names because of how she acted and looked. And it really just broke my heart. It was so unfair that Raul got away with it. My family let it go, but my husband and I were still hurt. She was not able to go to school and have a normal life. I had to stop working so that I could take care of her. Well, about 4 years later, she was getting worse. I had to go with her to the doctor many times in just 1 month because she could not breathe. The damage had also caused some body parts to not work nicely. Her mind was worse than someone who was 2 years old. But now I was used to taking care of her and I knew how to keep her calm. I also took her whenever I went because everyone else in the family was just too busy to care for her. Even though some of those people didn't even work. We had an old family friend who was hosting a function at the whole community. We were invited. My mother-in-law convinced me to go even though I don't really like the idea because Raul's family was going to be there. But you can never argue with an Indian mother-in-law, and I had to go and help out. During Indian festivals, there's a lot of preparation that goes with it. There's always music, dancing, and lots of food. I did not want Ankita to go and play with the other kids. I just got scared because some of them were not nice to her, and she would end up crying. So I kept her in a room close to the kitchen. I was there with a neighbor's wife and I was making puri. It's an Indian dish and some vegetables. I checked up on her a few times, then when the food was ready, I brought it to her. I told Ankita to wait for a while and I'll be back. I'd already prepared food for her, but I was going to be the one who was going to feed her. I was gone for a couple of minutes, but when I came back, I saw a few people standing outside the room. It was 1 a.m. and during summer, and most people were already just going home. There was a lot of talking, and all I could hear was Ankita's name. It's so difficult to think about what happened again. I saw my sweet daughter lying on the floor unconscious. One of the helpers was checking her breathing. Someone called the ambulance, but everyone was trying to get me not to be close to Ankita. I did not understand what was happening because when I left, she was fine. While the police and ambulance were on the way, the helper explained that she saw Raul entering the room and then leaving minutes later. They thought it was an accident, but I knew he wanted to hurt her again. He had been gone for the last couple of years because he was in college. I did not know that he was going to be there. If I knew, I was never going to take Ankita with me. When the ambulance came, they said that she was dead. We knew she choked on the food because we saw it, but the police did not. The last person to see her was Raul, but no one could find him. I did not see Raul coming or going into the kitchen, but I said I did anyways. I said that he was always stalking my daughter and would not leave her alone. This meant the investigation was no longer about an accident. It was a murder. I said anything I could to get him in trouble, and so did my husband. But some of the things I said were not 100% true. They found Raul after looking for him for some time. He said that he came into the room to look for something when he saw her. Apparently, he just talked to her for a little bit, and then she started choking. He was lying. I was sure he teased her like he used to, and she must have got scared. I did not care if it was an accident. In my eyes, Raul was the one who killed my daughter, and I wanted him to be punished. This time, it was more serious than the last time, and so then, the media started to cover the story. Me and the family gave interviews to local newspapers and TV channels, and soon, everyone in the near communities knew about it. This also caught the attention of NGOs that had to deal with women's rights. We knew that she died from choking, as Raul said, but there was no proof. There was still the case where he hurt her, and she was scared of him. So then, we did not do an autopsy as we should have done, as funerals here are very quick. I said goodbye to my daughter, and we used all the power we had to get Raul thrown in prison. When I saw Raul for the first time in court, he kept apologizing to me and saying that he did not mean to hurt my daughter. He asked me to tell the truth and say it was an accident. I looked at him in the eyes and I called him a murderer, because that's what he was. His father thought that money was going to fix everything because he offered to give us money if we dropped the case or said that it was just an accident. This time, my family could not forgive him, and my mother-in-law chased him out of the house. Since everyone knew the story and people wanted Raul gone, the police were under a lot of pressure. In the beginning, the investigation was going very fast. They had evidence of Raul's earlier attack on my daughter, and her friends testified that he used to try to force his love on her. But the case dragged on for about 3 years. These 3 years were hell for my family. When things were going well, Raul's fancy lawyers would get the court dates changed. They brought in experts to say it was just an accident, and that did confuse everyone. My family got tired and ended up telling me to take the money that Raul's father was offering. But my husband and I spent those years fighting Raul. We put in everything to get money for a good lawyer, and when we did not have that much money, I sold everything, including my jewelry. If you had a child, I think you'll be able to understand how I'm feeling. Because of this stupid boy, my daughter ended up mentally disturbed. After that, he did not want to leave her in peace. Now, she's dead. She was the only child that I had, and I could not have any more children. My marriage with my husband was now falling apart because I blamed him for letting my mother-in-law send Ankita to the neighbor's house all those years ago. This is what happened when people laughed at boys acting badly. You know, people told me to move on for such a long time, but they do not understand the pain of burying their own child. The most important person was the helper. She said that she saw Raul entering the room, and then he was laughing a lot and she was screaming. She saw my daughter choking on the food and got it out, but in court, she slightly changed her statement and said that he choked her because she went into the room. She was already dead. She was only trying to help us because she knew what happened all those years back. I know that what I did was not right, but if you think about it, he's still a murderer. I was just afraid that if she said it was an accident, then he was going to get away with what he did again. A lot of you might be wondering if this makes me feel guilty, but I don't know. I'm just a mother who wanted justice. After about 3 years in court, finally the judge came to a decision. There was a lot of organizations that helped me with the case, and a lot of pressure was put on the judge. Raul was given a death sentence. They said that he had attacked a person who could not defend herself, and since he had previously attacked her as well, and there were medical records and witnesses, he was about to get the worst possible punishment. His death will not bring back my Aunt Kita, or all those years that I lost with her. But you know what? I am very happy. He does not deserve to walk on this earth. He's a danger to everyone, and he just needs to be gone. In my eyes, he is the devil who ruined my family forever. Do you know what makes it worse? The fact that he apologized and said that he loved my Ankie. I don't want to hear her name come out of this filthy mouth ever again. My Ankie will never be a nurse like she wanted to be. She'll never get married or have kids because of him. His father did not take the news very well. Even before the sentencing, he was asking me to change my mind because he did not want to lose his son. I think that he should have gotten the death penalty with his son. When his son nearly killed my daughter the first time, he did not let the law do its job. He covered up his tracks. And he's been covering for his son since then. It is a few hours until they hang Raul in the city center, and I cannot keep still. I had to tell someone about what happened, and of course, I changed the names. I could not protect my Aunt Kita all those years ago, but now I will watch as her murderer dies, and his father will feel the pain of losing a child. Maybe that will bring me peace. I am in her room right now, which has not changed since the day she died. And I feel like she's with me today. Say what you will about this, but this is my confession to the part I had to play. Now finally, Aunt Kita will get justice for her death. Hey guys, Mr. Reddito here. So, this story is not over. I found a complete update for this story, and it tells us what happened exactly 2 years after Raul's execution. That's right, Raul was in fact executed. This update is basically about Raul's father and why he was the reason this all happened. Pause the video right now and drop a comment down below and tell me what you think Raul's father did. Alright guys, here comes the update. So, I was right about Raul's father being the reason why this all happened. What I'm about to tell you happened in the 2 years after Raul's execution. They tried to appeal the court's decision, but it was to no use. The law said he was a dangerous person. The NGOs for women and disabled people were striking for him not to get a light sentence. I did not go out of the house much because I just did not want to see them. Raul's dad blamed my family for his son's death. He said that we were jealous because of how their family was successful, and that his son really loved my daughter. Raul used to be one of those boys who troubled innocent girls. But then people would not say anything because of who his father is. I did not know if I was happy or sad when he did die. I was there. I watched and saw him die. And then I went home. His parents came to my house to cause a scene. My husband got them to leave, then filed a restraining order, but we still lived next door to them. We stayed away from each other because every time we met, there would be trouble. He started to lose a lot of clients because everyone knew what his son had done, and no one wanted to do business with him. I got a lot of calls from people and newspaper that wanted to know the full scoop, but I just could not handle it anymore. I was tired of talking about it. I was relieved that he was gone, but very confused as well. As time passed, people forgot about what happened. I was now more focused on healing from what did happen. I had started working again because it was helping me to grieve properly. This was when something really crazy happened. Nearly 2 years after Raul died, there were rumors that Raul's dad was cheating on his mom. I thought it was just a normal cheating drama and did not pay much attention to it. But then, as time went on, the truth came out that he was a pedophile, and he was arrested. Someone in the community had seen him at a hotel with a young girl, and I mean a young one. This girl was one of the daughters of a poor but respected family. The family of the girl asked her what was going on when they heard that she was seen at a hotel with an older man. She said that she met him when she was going to school and he gave her a lift. Then afterward, he started to charm her with expensive things. I heard most of this secondhand, and you know what happens when people gossip. They add spices. But they said they were having money problems at home, and Raul's father started to give her money. She started to spend the money and buy expensive things. Her family noticed and started asking, but she said that she had a job. I think the family should have investigated and found out where the money was coming from. But when she was seen out at the hotel, she confessed. She said that it had been happening for a year, and he would take her to hotels after she came back from school, and then they would have sex. I am sick from just thinking about this. If you saw that little girl, you would think I was lying. She looked so innocent. She was 16 years old, but the legal age is 18 here. After she told the truth, her family went to the cops with the matter to report it. The young girl asked them, more like begged them not to. I think he really fooled her. It was just so sad. And it's all because he had money, and it was a small misunderstanding, and also there was no proof. So they let him go. The girl was shamed in front of the whole community. Here, it is very important for girls to be modest and not get involved in things like this. Raul's father was not charged much because he paid off the girl's family. I was disappointed because I really thought that he would get punished for all his bad deeds. He ruined a poor girl's life by promising her money and gifts. But I believe that God was watching because the community was not happy with him either. Times are changing, and as more men are getting arrested for rape, communities are doing something about it finally. People did not trust him around their daughters anymore, and their family was shunned. When he was in prison, his wife received a lot of hate. She kept on saying that it was not true, and I think she's just as bad as Raul and his father because she let them behave like this. While he was in jail, the community wanted to kick his wife out of the house, but she called the police and they stopped it. These are just my beliefs, but I do not think the girl was the first one. Raul's dad has always been that creepy uncle who was too friendly and gave little girls sweet candies. I'm just glad that my family and his did not have a relationship anymore after what happened all these years ago. I have nieces, and it's scary to think that it could have been one of them. I think that Raul learned that behavior from his very disgusting father. Like they say, like father, like son. I'll never forget the day that Raul's father was released from prison. Everyone in the community was angry about it. One of the girl's brothers and his friends decided to start a mob. When he got out of prison, the mob started to beat him up. The police tried to get him to his house, but when they left, I saw many people go into his house and they dragged him into the street. When I say they beat him up, I really mean it. People were very tired of the way his family had taken advantage of the community for so many years. First, it was his son, and now it was him, taking advantage of a 16-year-old girl. The poor girl was sent off to some village that no one knows because of him. Some people were even saying that she was pregnant, but I hope she's not. Back to what happened. The whole community came together for the first time and they beat him. The police tried to stop them, but the crowd was just too strong. They even chased the police away. They stoned him until he could not stand up anymore. Every time he tried to stand, he would fall. And then they left his body in the street. I saw all of this from my window, and to tell you the truth, I did not feel anything. For more than 10 years, my family lived in hell because of the Raul family. They left him lying in a pool of his own blood in the middle of the street. The police came to investigate and ask what happened and for us to tell them who attacked him. I said that I saw nothing, and so did everyone else. Things like mob justice happen all the time here. No one's ever arrested. And this is what happened this time. I was so happy that guy was now dead. No one beat up his wife, and she only came out of the house when he died. No one attacked her after his death, but people called her a lot of names because of who she was related to. I felt a little bit sorry for her, but remember how she had blamed my daughter's first accident on us and not her son. About 1 week after he was killed, I got the news that she was in the hospital. Her sister, who said that she had come to fetch her to live with her in another village, found her unconscious in her home. She had taken poison and left a note. I don't know what the note said, and I don't care what it said. All I know is that she was lucky that her sister found her. I never saw her coming out of the hospital, but I think her sister took her off to another village. I still miss my daughter, but I'm learning to let go of the past, and I know she's better in a happier place now. I'm very happy that God dealt with each and every member of that terrible family. It has really helped me to heal knowing that everyone who took part in her death suffered. I'm no longer going to post any updates because I've seen and heard enough. And I think it's time to move on after all these years.